coaches asked me whether I was tolerating my husband's behavior or accepting it. And I had never thought about the difference. But I quickly realized that I'd been tolerating it. It was making me miserable. This week, I heard the same coach talk about the fact that she'd been tolerating things in herself. And I'd never considered that I might actually be tolerating my own behavior. And guess what? I have been. Wow, that really opened my eyes. So think about that. Are you tolerating your own behavior? So what's the difference between tolerating and accepting? I had to do some research on this at the time that I first heard this difference. And here's the thing, tolerating implies that you are putting up with something, right? That you don't necessarily like or approve of something, but you're kind of putting up with it. You aren't interfering or protesting. You might be protesting actually, but you're unhappy about the situation and you're enduring it anyway, right? So you endure someone or something unpleasant or disliked with forbearance when you're tolerating. And forbearance means you do it with self-control, restraint, and tolerance. So you're trying to restrain yourself, but you're really pretty unhappy with what's going on. When you accept, on the other hand, you come to recognize that whatever it is, a behavior, a situation, an opinion, is valid, or you decide it's okay, and you can live with that without being unhappy, or you learn to be sympathetic about it or empathetic about the reasons why somebody's doing something, and you then are able to accept, right? When you accept, you don't have that same feeling of having to, you're trying to put up with it. You just sort of accept it and it becomes a non-issue, right? So that's one of the ways to realize that you're accepting rather than tolerating, is that whatever that is becomes a non-issue. Whatever behavior or whatever, it becomes a non-issue. But there is a way for you to also consider whether or not you're tolerating or accepting, and I call it the feel test. The feel test, not field, but feel, F-E-E-L. If you think about a person you know whose behavior you tolerate, how does it make you feel? Now think about someone whose behavior you accept. How does that make you feel? There's a distinct difference, is there not? Tolerating makes you feel angry and resentful and unhappy and irritated, right? On the other hand, accepting makes you feel peaceful, content, empathetic, and equanimous, like you have equanimity. I can never pronounce that word, right? So we want to stop tolerating other people's behavior, right? You want to stop doing that because it's making you unhappy. I was tolerating a lot of my husband's behaviors, and it was driving me crazy and ruining our marriage, affecting my health. So I made a list of all the things I was tolerating. Then I asked myself to honestly assess which behaviors I could accept and which ones I couldn't. I then had a conversation with my husband about the things I couldn't accept, right? And I simply just decided to accept the others, period. I just accepted them, but then I went to my husband and talked about the others. The ones that I accepted, I stopped focusing on them and I stopped allowing myself to complain and get angry or to talk about them to myself or anyone else, including my husband. And that changed everything. And of course, he agreed to change a few things too that I felt like I was tolerating, and that meant I didn't need to tolerate them anymore. And between the acceptance part and the change on his part, it's no wonder that we ended up still married, because that was the thing. So you may be tolerating situations as well, not just behaviors. And if you feel you're enduring some situation, it's time to look for new options, different choices, right? And once you find them, to take some action on them. You might, for instance, hate your job. So find a new one. Or imagine your dream job and then see if you can create it in some way. I tolerated the situation I had with one of my literary agents, for instance. I didn't like how I was treated. I didn't like how I felt in the relationship, and I should have ended it immediately, but I waited and I was so unhappy. I could have broken my contract and found a new agent. So you have to decide to look at circumstances or situations and find ways to change them, okay? Now, back to tolerating things in yourself. Consider, what behaviors are you tolerating yourself? What behaviors are making you super unhappy? Like, you know you do them and it makes you unhappy. I used to be really unhappy about the fact that I didn't have a morning routine, and the reason was because I was hitting the snooze alarm every morning and wasting 45 minutes. That could have been my morning routine. So when I realized that's what I was doing and it was making me unhappy, I changed the behavior, right? So I realize now, after hearing my coach, that I've been tolerating my procrastination, my old stories, my excuses, my focus on negative outcomes, lack of commitment and self-integrity. And as a right, I've been pretty miserable. So what am I to do? Decide which ones to accept, truly accept that I can't change or I don't want to change them, and then change the others. In my case, I'm actually going to stop procrastinating, telling myself stories, focusing on negative outcomes, and I'm going to be someone who's self-integral and committed. And I'll be happier for sure, and I'll make progress towards my goals. So it's the same for you. Decide which behaviors that are making you unhappy, your own behaviors, which ones can you accept, and which ones are you going to change. That is the only way to stop tolerating behavior in yourself. And the thing is, I know for myself that I'll be happier when I do this. I'll make more progress towards my goals, and my situations will change. So as a result of moving towards my goal, I will stop tolerating situations I don't like because I'm going to change them, right? So on the flip side of this, what are you accepting in yourself? You could actually be accepting behaviors that need to be changed to achieve your goals. Okay, so think about that. You may be saying you're accepting things, but they're actually making you unhappy. You actually feel like you're enduring them because you don't think you can change them, but you can. And accepting can be a form of self-love. So to let yourself off the hook for some behaviors or ways of approaching your life, that can be an act of self-love, being kind to yourself, right? Rather than judging yourself and being hard on yourself. But it's important to analyze if you're accepting or tolerating. You may think you've accepted something when in fact you know deep down inside that you are bothered by the fact that you have that behavior or that mindset, right? So then you're actually tolerating, but you've managed to disguise it as acceptance. If you would prefer to change things about yourself, do that. Stop tolerating. Think about what will happen if you continue to tolerate yourself. You probably know the answer, right? You're going to remain stuck and unhappy and discontent with yourself and your life. And that's not a good way to live, is it? So decide to make some changes in yourself, or decide to accept the things that you really think you can't change, right? Because it's useless. If there really are things you can't change, it's useless to focus on changing them. Instead, change the things you can. Stop tolerating the things you don't like and that you can change, and change them, okay? So I would love to hear from you in a comment down below, whether you're watching this video on YouTube or on my blog. I'd love to know what you think about this idea of tolerating versus acceptance, or tolerating versus accepting. Better grammar. And whether you feel like you're tolerating things in yourself. And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about the people, the situations, and yourself if you're tolerating it? What are you going to change? How are you going to handle it? Tell me in a comment down below. I'm Nina Amir. I'm the Inspiration to Creation Coach. I am an intuitive transformational catalyst. I offer certified high performance coaching and what I call inspired results coaching, which is a combo of more spiritual and personal growth together. And I love to help people get from where they are to where they want to go, to get out of their own way. And I do that by helping them change from the inside out, because you have to change on the inside before anything in your outer experience changes. I always say you're a creator. That's why I have the Inspired Creator Community. Links up above. Inspired Creator Community is all about how we as spiritual beings having a human experience, how we create, because we are creators and we're creating all the time, but usually we're creating unconsciously, like not intentionally. And we can deliberately create, but we have to change from the inside, and then we will see the outside changing, what we're actually manifesting. So if any of that's of interest to you, click on the link above for the Inspired Creator Community. I'd love to coach you. It'd be my honor, and to help you achieve more inspired results and step into the best version of yourself. So until next time, until that happens, till you show up in my coaching group, till you watch my next video, read my next blog post, go out there and achieve more inspired results.